Story 1. Today I fracked up by fixing my in-laws' PC and discovering they're into the same kink as my wife. So I work in IT repair. PC, tablets, mobile phones, that sort of thing. Which means, as anyone in the field can attest, means giving free tech support to family and friends. So about 2 weeks ago, I'm at my wife's parents' house, taking a look at their sick desktop in return for having my father-in-law service my car. He's a mechanic. Anyway, father-in-law comes back inside for a coffee break and is asking me questions about how to sell stuff on eBay. I fire up a browser window, head to eBay, and log into his account. My eyes immediately lock onto the fact that the recently viewed items are an assortment of horse riding crops. My mind logs this as odd somewhere in the back of my brain and moves on with the tutorial. My father-in-law finishes his coffee and heads back out to my car. I return to cleaning up his PC and scans, etc., find a few things that are tied back to a bunch of BDSM/fetish corn sites, spanking videos, etc. Now, normally, after a decade with people's PCs, I have a very no-judgment stance with this sort of thing. At least the eBay searches for riding crops make sense. But my mind chose that moment to remind me that my wife has somewhat recently revealed that she's kind of into this sort of thing. We recently had a dirty weekend away where she revealed that she had recently purchased an assortment of paddles, whips, restraints, and things that vibrate. Thanks, 50 Shades, I guess. Not complaining. If it gets her off, I'll try just about anything at least once. And now, from that day forward, whenever things have gotten a little spicy in the bedroom, there's a part of my brain that's thinking, do you know that your parents are into this stuff too? I'm sure my wife does not have any knowledge of this, and to learn of it would mortify her to the point that we'd never be intimate again. Well, it's gonna have to be up to you. Do you keep it a secret? Do you find a way to block it out of your mind? Maybe it's a way for you to kind of have a little control over yourself so you don't finish up too early. You know, something that's not a very gross image, you know? I would say there's no reason to tell her. I mean, it's probably a way for you to exercise a little mental restraint and be able to be in the moment, so to speak. Yeah, but they're related. That's about all else I can think of. Yeah, just enjoy the ride and learn to mentally focus, I guess. Story 2. Entitled Mother Steals My Entire Vegetable Garden. We have a not-so-small vegetable garden in the backyard of my family's house. Me and my mom are the gardeners, and we grow a bunch of zucchini, snap peas, herbs, broccoli, carrots, tomatoes, and even grapes, with the occasional other vegetables, radishes, bell peppers, etc. One day, I hear something outside my window, which is right above the largest planter box in our garden. I look outside and see 2 kids from the neighborhood picking vegetables from the planter box. I run out and see the 2 of them have their arms full of zucchini and carrots and even some tomatoes. I asked, what on earth are they doing? And they said, we live in the neighborhood. I told them that those are our vegetables, and they can't take them. They just said, it's our neighborhood too. We can have them if we want. And they took off before I could stop them, literally vaulting over the small fence that separates our side yard from the neighbors. Different neighbors, not the ones that were stealing. A few days later, I heard something outside my window again, and I looked out and saw the kid's mom loading a basket with vegetables from the planter. I again rush out and see that her and her kids are loading baskets with everything they could grab. I watched as the mom grabbed a handful of the chives I'd been growing and ripped them out, roots and all. My mom must have heard me run out because she came out as well. She yelled, asking what they think they're doing, and the kids just kept picking vegetables while the mom just turned, annoyed. It's everyone's neighborhood, and we need the food, she said, still picking from the garden and desecrating my prized chives. My mom told her that if she had just asked, we would have given them some. And even if it is everyone's neighborhood, it's our garden. She just huffed and left with her kids, and there wasn't anything we could do. Our garden was damaged beyond repair. Our zucchini plants were torn to bits, and the peas and tomatoes were trampled and shredded, and our grape bush that we had for years was broken at the base, where one of them had stepped on it. There were no fresh vegetables that year, and my mom couldn't make her chocolate chip zucchini bread. A few days later, we installed a lock on the backyard fence, and the neighbors came banging on our door, and we installed a lock preventing them from getting into our garden. My mom just told them to go away, and if she saw them in our garden again, she would call the cops. We thankfully never saw them again, and our garden is happy now, and we managed to bring the grapes back to life. A little while ago, we planted some blueberry bushes in our front yard. It's kind of hard to say blueberry bushes. It's a pun. Not a pun. It's a tongue twister. Someone keeps stealing them, and half the blueberries are gone each season. We let the kids in the neighborhood eat them, and they only eat maybe 8 or 10 each a day on weekends or during the summer. There are 10 bushes in total, about 100 to 150 blueberries each. I wonder who's taking 500 blueberries every year, We haven't caught them yet, but everyone knows. Well, again, time to start installing some security cameras so you can catch Mrs. Peter Rabbit and her kids in the action. And it's kind of interesting to see kids actively taking vegetables, because the secret ingredient to get kids interested in vegetables is crime, apparently. Petty theft. I don't know. Is this petty theft or is this more than that? I don't think it's grand larceny, but it's definitely trespassing. Story 3. Messed up bully's life. In Asia, there's a concept of ragging in colleges. It's a form of hazing done by seniors on newcomers. People defend it by saying it's supposed to break the ice. But it's nothing but a form of humiliation and mental torture, if not physical. Laws are trying to clamp it down, but the practice is still so widespread it's pretty much expected once you enter college life. It happened to me in college, and of all things, the most humiliating part was them forcing me to dance in a lewd way. It was over in seconds, but the memory was just burning in my head for days, and I couldn't get rid of it. I already knew from my college's history that reporting them directly doesn't do jack, though ragging is strictly banned. Well, the government had made portals and helplines to report these things. That resource seemed untapped to me, so I officially filed a complaint and did my best to move on with my life. 10 years later, I came to know the police wanted to talk to me to close the case. I'd forgotten about the whole thing, but now that something was happening, I wasn't willing to just drop it. So they made it an official charge against the 4 perps. Turns out the boys were all working abroad, so am I, and got scared out of their minds on realizing there's an official charge against them. Working abroad requires visas, and all renewal forms have questions like, have you ever been charged? Doesn't matter if you were found innocent or guilty. You have to tick yes. For countries with high immigration rates, that's a potential unaliving sentence on your visas. Renewals can get rejected even if you have a solid explanation. One of the boys found and contacted me via social media begging me to take my complaint back. Offer me money. Too bad for him. I'm well-to-do. I informed this to the police in charge, and he's in a deeper hole. As for me, seeing some semblance of justice was really cathartic and helped me actually heal instead of forgetting about it. Some people want closure. Some people there are charges like this everywhere, all over in different countries. And even though it's a little late, some people still want closure to be able to move on with their lives. I mean, do you think it's too late? I mean, this person tried to move on with their life, but there was still something in the back of their mind that wanted closure on this, and they wanted to see justice done. They were humiliated for a bit, and they wanted to see these people face consequences for their actions. I think we all do when we've been wronged. Is there anything you have in your life that you would like to see someone face the consequences of that you don't think they have?
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 4. No one ever makes it hot enough? Okay then, you asked for it. I used to be a chef in a Mexican restaurant in a small town in Australia nearly 40 years ago. We were modestly popular, and I loved working there. One night, a young man came in to dine with a young lady. It was very obviously a first date. They ordered a nachos to share with a side of jalapenos for the entree, and he ordered a steak Veracruz, hot, for his main, and the young lady ordered a chicken burrito, mild, for hers. As I usually did throughout the night, would walk around the tables and ask if people were enjoying the food. After the nachos, I checked on them, and the young man informed me that the chili that accompanied the nachos were not hot at all, and that he loved hot food. I was informed that he had traveled extensively and had eaten some of the hottest food in the world, and that no one had ever made a dish too hot for him. He reiterated that he wanted his steak main extra hot. To be honest, I found him to be pompous and rather obnoxious in the way he was speaking down to me, and found myself disliking him. I will add at this point that the young lady was looking a little uncomfortable, and I got the impression her date was not going as she had expected. I headed to the kitchen. I made her a lovely chicken burrito while putting together his steak. He wanted it hot? He was going to get it. Our steak Veracruz was usually a steak cooked and topped with our house tomato sauce base with some capsicums, bell peppers for you Americans, and onions with a touch of chili. On this occasion, I set to work. Keep in mind, this was Australia back in the 80s, and we did not get a lot of different chilies back then, and a jalapeno was considered hot by most Aussie palates. Hey, we were an uneducated bunch. I had a few bird's eye chilies in the kitchen that were mainly there for the staff and the resident Mexican guitarist meals, so I started with those. I finally diced about 10 of those with their seeds. I then started sweating off my onions and capsicums. I then threw in the chilies, and then I added about a tablespoon of chili powder and about a tablespoon of cayenne. I soon felt the fumes hit my nose and the back of my throat, and my eyes started watering. I ran to the door of the kitchen to get a breath of breathable air, as the air in my tiny kitchen was rapidly becoming unbreathable. I ran back to my pan and put a ladle of the house tomato sauce in. I then let that simmer for a few minutes. I then added some chopped up jalapenos from a jar in my fridge and thought, why not? And in went a bit more chili powder. I then put the flash-fried steak in to finish it off in the sauce. I served it all up on a plate with some rice, served up the chicken burrito, and hit the bell for the waitress to serve it to the table. The waitress came back and told me that as she placed it in front of me, said, "This had better be hot." She assured him the chef had done as he requested. I went to the door of the kitchen, joined by my waitress, to watch the show unfold. And unfold it did. I watched with glee as he sliced the steak, took a piece on his fork, and with a smug look on his face, he put it in his mouth. He took a bite, and then realized his mistake. I saw it. That moment when his face changed, but he was trying so hard not to show it. He couldn't. He was on a date, and he had bragged so hard and now he had to go through with it. He ate the steak. I could see every ounce of pain on his face. He struggled. He struggled hard. His date watched him with a slight smile on her lips, and I got the impression that she was thoroughly enjoying his pain. He went through several jugs of water. He sweated. He barely spoke. He looked damn uncomfortable. At the end of the meal, I came out of the kitchen and asked him if he had enjoyed his meal. His words, "Could have been hotter." He never came back. His date, she became a regular and told us he was an insufferable fool and she never saw him again. I have no regrets other than I wish Carolina Reapers had been around then. Yeah, if you want, what is this? Apparently but he thought she was going to be impressed by being able to handle spicy food. But everyone saw through him. Maybe if he had been nicer about it and just maybe not made a big deal about that request, he wouldn't be in the pain that he was. But yeah, why be a jerk about this? Oh, I can suffer I cannot handle spicy food. That anything that spicy. Nope. Not that impressive to me. Story 5. Demand proof of illness? Hope you have eye bleach. I had a boss once who was such a control freak that she demanded to know specifically why I was calling out sick one day. Wildly illegal where I live. And for reference, I'm typically the guy who never gets sick, so it wasn't an attendance issue. I told her I think I had food poisoning. Turned out to be true, and actually wrote a ULPT based off this story a while back. No idea what that is, ULPT. Maybe someone in the comments can tell me. And she kept pressing me to explain what my symptoms were and why I couldn't make it at all via text. I had finally had enough and was like, look, I'm not physically capable of working today, and you are not allowed to ask me personal questions about illness and medical history. She threatened me with a write-up if I couldn't specifically explain/prove why I couldn't make it into work. This is where the pro-revenge comes in. I was about to send her something horrific that she could not unsee, and she wouldn't be able to do jack about it, since she technically asked for it. Being that I was living in the bathroom for more than 2 days, this inquiry was day 1, and had aggressive diarrhea every 15 to 30 minutes and the worst abdominal pain I've ever experienced, I lost my poop and took a pretty disturbing picture of me painting the bowl brown right before I flushed and sent it to her. No joke, it looked like I power washed the inside of the toilet with feces and built a turd island in the middle of the water. It honestly looked like a poop volcano had erupted. I had no idea your bowels could contain so much. This is happening every 15 to 30 minutes, and I haven't been able to leave the bathroom for the last 6 hours. Here is your proof. Check the timestamp. Also send a screen of the timestamp. I'll let you know as soon as I can if I'll be in tomorrow. So after 3 days off, I showed up for my shift, sleep-deprived and sore from sleeping in my bathtub or on the floor for 2.5 days. Butthole not having any of it, but I was finally through the worst. She immediately escorts me into her office where our regional HR rep is waiting for me, and we all sit down. He has paperwork in front of him and is discussing the incident with me and gets me to acknowledge what I did and that sending unprovoked and offensive content to coworkers constitutes harassment and blah, 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 right before he asks me to sign a final write-up. If you do something like this again, you're fired. Before signing, I asked him, "Did she tell you why I sent this?" He was dumbfounded and said this isn't really excusable, and basically handed me a screenshot printout of the text messages where this shrew deleted everything in the exchange in her phone but me saying, "Sorry, I need to take a sick day today," and the picture. I laughed and handed him my phone and said, "Here is the full exchange." He asked me to leave and give them a few minutes. About 10 minutes later, he called me in by myself and explained what I already knew, that she was the harasser and that she had aggressively violated privacy laws and would be dealt with, and to call him if anything like this ever happens again. I found out from one of the assistant managers that she ended up getting a final written notice and was super close to being fired. And it prevented her from getting a big promotion that she was being looked at for. So if you ever come across a male member head boss who wants to play doctor and question your sick leave, send them diarrhea pics and they'll either shut the hell up or give you lawsuit material. Yeah. Document everything. Document it, because stuff like this is going to happen. I keep saying this in all these work-related things. Know your rights and document all of this stuff. Work is not your friend. This is kind of proof of it. Exactly. Story 6. Cousin's gift ruined Christmas and possibly my relationship. I come from a big family. Our holidays involve extended family, like second cousins, etc. My fiancé and I are in our mid-20s, and there are a lot of cousins in their 20s and 30s. Last night, we had our big Christmas party. It was fun to see everyone, until it was time to exchange presents. My cousin Anna, not a real name, hands out pink envelopes to all the 20s and 30s men who have married/dated into the family. My fiancé received one and quickly put it in his pocket after opening it. I was distracted opening my gifts and didn't ask to look at it. About 20 minutes later, my cousin Rachel, again, not a real name, pulls me aside and says Anna is giving out cards with instructions on how to get a discount subscription to her OF. You know the site I'm talking about. Rachel's boyfriend got one in the pink cards and showed Rachel because he was weirded out. I'm ticked at this point because I suspect my fiance's card also has a OF discount, so I asked to talk with him, and he denies getting a card from Anna. I tell him, I saw her hand you one, and I watched you put it in your pocket. I go to grab his pocket, and he suddenly remembers getting a card, but claims he didn't open it. I take it from him, and of course it's already open. And of course it's about fracking OF. I go back inside to confront Anna and find her already arguing with a different cousin who is upset because her husband has already tried looking at Anna's page. Anna claims she's just trying to get her business off the ground, and no one appreciates all the hard work and skills it takes to be successful in a digital career. She says her gift is not intimate. It's just marketing. Some of the older relatives, aunts and uncles, are starting to take sides too, but they're mostly really confused about what's going on. Anna's mom starts crying because of something I said, and my mom tried to get me to apologize, which ticked me off more. At this point, I leave with my brother and his husband because I don't want to spend the night with my fiancé at home. And I don't feel like going with my parents when my mom is pressuring me to apologize. Oh, and surprise, surprise, Anne didn't give my brother's husband a card. So make of that what you will about the intent behind her gift. I'm seriously considering calling off the engagement over this, and I'm ticked at my cousin for ruining both Christmas and my relationship. Of all the inappropriate things to do during a family event, first of all, yeah, and this person was definitely in the wrong for doing this, handing out to the husbands right in front of your relatives. the people you're related to, that's just such a knife in the back. But it kind of brought to light some true colors of the fiance, and ruining it, it kind of saved you in the I mean, I know it's going to be a pain to go through all of this, but wow, of all the inappropriate things to announce and how to get a special discount to the OF? I don't get it. How did she think that was ever appropriate, especially during the holidays?
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.